Hello, I'm John Franks. I'm the founder and owner of Chord Electronics. I started Chord in 1989 and I went full-time around January 1992. But working on the sales side, I also designed some of the products, notably the amplifier ranges, and I also do all the styling of all the products as well. So, yeah, originally I was an avionics engineer. Avionics is electronics for aircraft, and I think the most important thing about avionics is that you've got to be very, very precise. You've got to always have the perfect design solution if you're designing for aircraft. You can't have like a band-aid fix for a problem. If there's an engineering problem, you've got to apply either plenty of money or plenty of design expertise to really problem very perfectly. And so I think that the most important thing is that I believe that I brought that philosophy from my avionics days over to electronics. I think that it stood the company in good stead because even if I knew something was expensive or difficult or hard to do, I would go back to my design roots and say, well, yes, it's bound to be worth it. And of course, that's when I met Rob, and he had a totally different design approach to DAC technology. I think that I was very lucky to have the experience to say that even though it was a very expensive solution, a way of designing DACs, it was the best. So therefore, you go with the best, not the cheapest. At that time, I was married to a Canadian lady, and her father had an old car that was very expensive, very luxurious, and it was called a Chord. She recommended the name, and I thought, yeah, Chord's a good name because it's got musical connotations. And also, I think the interesting thing about the name Chord is that it's got a C at one end and a D at the other, and the style of the badge that I wanted to create had these curves. So it kind of fitted, the word fitted into the badge very nicely. So that's why I chose it. I think once again, really, it's that philosophy of no matter how hard something is to do, no matter how difficult the design process, you do it. You don't take an easy option. You end up with a better product, beautifully engineered, and really the best in the world. I think that's what I've always strived for, to actually have products that really are the best. And not just competing, but demonstrate, you can demonstrate that they are actually technically better than the competitors. I think I was first really introduced to the portable audio market, I think around about 7 years ago, where I was taken by my Japanese distributor. She said, come along and see what you think of the portable audio show. She said, oh, it's crazy, it's really crazy. I mean, obviously, we just went along to have a look. And I was really fascinated because at that time there were bunches of guys sat around little tables, and they all had little cigarette tins or little tins, and they built their electronics on something called Veriboard, which is like an experimenter's board to make electronics. And it was really quite fascinating, but the guys were so enthusiastic about what they were doing. And there were some bigger companies like Sony and other players there. But what I realized was that it took me back to the early days of audio in the 1970s and the shows that were around at that time for big audio. But it was there was so much enthusiasm and so many young people at that time, and I'd seen that had changed during the intervening years, and the guys in the main audio systems were getting older and older and sort of less enthusiastic. When I saw this Head-Fi show, it was once again young guys, very enthusiastic, and they were walking around with great big stacks of equipment, you know, all bound together with straps and things. And I thought, wow, this is crazy, but I really liked it, and I thought, yeah, we've got technologies that maybe that we could apply to that. And I approached Rob Watts and I said, do you think we could make a mobile DAC? Bearing in mind that first DAC that we worked on had 4 chips of this size, and so we would have needed if we were using that technology of 20 years ago, or 23-4 years ago now, we would have needed a battery the size of a backpack. So I think that in the intervening years, the FPGAs had reduced in their power demands, and they become much more capable and much more complex. And I think it was the combination of technological progress and also Rob's enthusiasm for actually making a mobile product. And the first product we made was the Hugo, and everyone said, what a crazy name. But I thought, well, yeah, but I like quirky names. And I said, well, you take your DAC wherever you go. Stupid, I know, but you know, it worked for us. And I think it became a very popular product. And I think it really set Chord's path on a different trajectory. I think the most important thing was we saw the market, we developed a product for that market, and it was instantly loved by the guys. And mind you, they had plenty of complaints that it was a little too big and it was this and it was that. So we worked on that, and we continued to develop other products for that market. But yeah, we're very happy to be involved in 2 areas of business now. So we have the mobile sector and the full size, and they are different businesses and they have different shows and everything like that. But they both have great qualities, and we enjoy both of them very much. I think there's been a demographic change in the way people are living now. I mean, people can take really good quality audio wherever they go. When I was young, if your life was sort of set out by your parents, you would actually meet a girl at 18, you would probably marry at 25, and then you would have your children, and you would try to buy an apartment or a house, and then you would have your own space, and you would buy a TV, a car, and a hi-fi system. And I think that isn't the case now. I mean, essentially, people don't get married at the age that Rob and I got married initially, and I think that really there is a kind of extended adolescence where guys don't have to get married so early. They still have girlfriends and have, you know, a good time and whatever. But I think that they tend to stick with their parents. They live with mum and dad still, so they don't have the huge rooms that they can put their own systems in. But what they can have is a system on a desk. And I think that if we continue to make really fine systems that go on a desk, that when eventually they do leave mum and dad, they might consider buying a big system, but it's probably much later in life. So there's this, you know, extended time up to their 40s maybe, when they're still with mum and dad, and then they finally move out and get their own places when they're very rich and they can afford really big systems. So we're making small bijou compact systems, very high quality, and very big, really amazing systems. But there isn't that much in between anymore. So there have been demographic changes and differences. I think not for us. I think what we've found is that as the brand awareness of Chord is coming up, we're actually selling more big systems, but that's probably just us. I don't really know about everyone else. But I mean, we like to always push technologies, and I think we'll continue to do that and always make, it's always nice to make the best that you possibly can, even if it is expensive and you know you're only going to sell 50, it doesn't matter. You know, the pride is actually designing something that you think, wow, we designed that, and I think there is a lot to be said for that. I think working with Rob, working right alongside Rob and listening to what he's listening to, I think I've learned a lot. I think getting to the truth of a performance, going back years when I was initially designing my amplifiers, I was listening to a piece by Jacqueline Dupre, and I suddenly realized that tears were streaming down my face listening to this music, and I thought, wow, I really connected there. And I realized that it was because the electronics that I produced, allowing all of that anharmonic and harmonic information through the amplifier, that actually connected the raw emotion of the piece. I believe that it is about truth. It is getting to musical truth. I think we were very lucky in the early days because we were approached by the BBC, the British Broadcasting, and they wanted a product to help them with some studios that they had. They wanted an amplifier that actually improved the sound of certain speakers in these studios, and we were able to satisfy them. And that showed me that what we were doing was on the right track, because if we could satisfy hard-nosed recording engineers and record producers that really knew music, and they knew the artist, they knew what the artist sounded like, and therefore if we could reproduce that in their listening room, then we were on the right track. I think that was fundamental. I think, once again, having that bravery to spend whatever is necessary to make the design as technically as good as it possibly can be. The wonderful thing about Thai audiophiles is that they seem to have a love of music. I think that you're all very emotional people. You're not a race of cold, passionate people. And I think that it's that passion that you have for life, for your culture and for your music. And I think that because of that, you can connect with products that are passionately made as well.